Hello everyone, this is Sarah with the York County Library. Welcome to another Stay Creative York County episode. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made this piece right here. So this is a painting actually, and you don't necessarily have to do this with paints though, but I'll show you what I used to make this and the process of making it, but know that you can use things other than paint. So to make this, I needed a canvas or a surface to work on. So depending on if you're using paint or markers, wet or dry media, you might need a different material for your canvas or workspace. I also used a pencil so that I could draw certain lines and shapes. For painting, I'm using acrylic paint for this, so I made sure I had a selection of the colors that I wanted. And I'm just using craft acrylic paint here. And also I'm using a variety of brushes. So they have different shaped bristles and heads, and they're also different sizes. Because if you look at my painting, there are certain areas that are bigger than others, and some need or could use a bigger brush, while other areas might need a finer or pointed tip brush to get those corners. So that's what you need if you're going to be painting. Of course, you want something to be able to wash your brush out so that you can change colors without mixing them, and something to dry the bristles off with as well. So maybe a towel or a paper towel. If you're going to be using other materials, I would suggest that you could use markers for this. You could use the pencil and some drawing paper. You could use colored pencils or crayons. You could try different paints if you would like. So find out what you'd like to do. But now I'm going to show you how I took these materials and made my final piece. So let's get started. Okay, so today's craft is actually pretty simple instruction-wise. Whatever work surface you decide to use, whether that be canvas or drawing paper, I want you to take your pencil and create some overlapping shapes or lines. These could be straight lines, squiggly lines, swirls. You could have circles, squares, triangles, hearts, blobs that don't really have any form or shape. Just put them on the drawing surface and let them overlap. And these overlapping sections will then create new shapes inside. So here I have my lines squiggly and straight, and I am adding some circles. Now, once you have your shapes drawn, you can then decide if you want to do some paint or markers, but you're going to be taking whatever colors you have and whatever material you have and filling in those empty spaces. So something to keep in mind when you are putting these colors down is looking at the colors themselves and if they go together, and also the light and darkness of each color. So I have a couple of paint brushes I'm going to use to paint, and I decided to alternate and make sure that the shapes that were touching didn't have the same color. I wanted them to alternate. So I did the circles with the pale blue, the pink, and the purple. And I drew, or I filled in the shapes that had corners touching, as you can see. I am using the bigger brush to fill in the larger areas, using the edge of it to create the smaller lines on the edges. And then if I need to, I can grab my smaller brushes and fill in the small corners. Of course, if you're using marker or coloring pencil, you might opt to outline the shape first and then fill in, or you may just use your brush strokes to fill in the spaces. If you are feeling kind of anxious about putting color down, you could do a sketch or a thumbnail sketch and then practice by filling in the colors to see how they would go together next to each other. As you can see with some of the colors, they are a little lighter, but they have darker colors around them, and I like that contrast. So there's not much else to say. I'm going to continue to fill in the shapes until I am done. So here is my final piece, all dried and ready to be displayed. And here is our final product. Now I will point out that in the video I didn't show it, but I did put some extra coats of paint on here. There were some spaces, and there's still some spaces where you can kind of see the canvas coming through still. You can just apply more coats of paint if you would like. So there's the painted version. And what I like about this process is that this could totally change if I change the distance of the lines from each other, the kinds of lines that I used. Maybe next time, instead of circles, I use squares or triangles or hexagons or hearts, or maybe I just use squares, hexagons, or hearts instead of lines. So I think it would be really fun to do some thumbnail sketches of this before you get started, but it was a lot of fun. So it also brought back memories of opening up paint on my computer as a kid in elementary school, drawing a bunch of lines and then using the fill tool to fill in the blank spaces. So I hope that you had fun with today's project. I hope that you just experiment creating those different shapes and seeing what happens. Maybe let go of the need to control everything and just see what comes out on the page. So until next time, friends, remember to stay cool, stay safe, and stay creative, York County.